All right, here we go. Chris Walby joining me for season 3 of Game
Wow.
Day Winnipeg. Preseason game number 1 on tap Saturday afternoon for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Bluto, how you doing, man? I
Well, I
know
know you don't
I've
like my
been.
hat. I'm wearing a NASCAR hat, so you're a little
You
upset, but
are.
I told you I'm racing to get here because it's time. Boy, that off season seemed like it just dragged and dragged. And here we are, just about to talk about, another year for the Bombers and another tough year for the Edmonton Elks. Hopefully they're going to rebound. But, man, nice test tomorrow. Looking forward to it. It's nice to feel that football fever in your body again.
Yeah, I agree. All things said and done, we're going to get into a ton on the show today, as we always do. We got a depth chart for you. The Blue Bombers didn't put out a depth chart, but we've got a depth chart. It's the Bonfire Sports annual, way too early depth chart. I've been at camp to break it all down for you guys. We're going to look at the roster, who's dressing, who's not for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And then for Edmonton, well, this is their second preseason game, Chris. They already played on Sunday.
Probably playing a lot more veterans. This is, they've got a bit of a break before their first season game.
Well, we're going to look
this is where you want to, you got a test right now. Yeah. So a lot of the veterans will get a little bit more playing time as they usually do, usually a half. It depends on what Chris Jones has. He kind of, marches to his own drummer, so we can't really tell how he's going to play it. But I expect that you'll see, Cornelius Taylor be starting at quarterback. So I know one thing. I'll just say this.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jones will not have 2 bad years in a row. I make a little joke about the Elks. I just don't see this guy having 2 bad years in a row. I know that everybody is, the prognosticators are saying right now that the Elks will end up in the basement. I don't know. The quarterback is a huge thing for me, but I just think that he's such a defensive guy and he's changed a lot of guys in there. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think the Elks are going to be a lot better this year. Just another year of Chris Jones. Look, I've got a ton of respect for Chris Jones as a football mind, as a manager, as a coach. He finds ways to win football games. The Elks have not won a game at home in forever. I mean, no wins last season at Brickfield at Commonwealth. So, even in the preseason, they're going to be fighting tooth and nail against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Saturday afternoon to try to get a win. But I think they're going to be a lot better in the West. I think Saskatchewan is a bit of a tire fire. I know Bombers fans are going to be happy to hear that assessment from me. But Calgary is probably going to be a good football team. BC, I don't think we can expect, Chris, BC to be the same team they were last year because of -1 player. And I'm not talking about Stove Richardson. I'm talking about Nathan Rourke.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I'm a big fan of Verdon Adams Jr. I think who's they got picked up the backup guy. Who's the backup right now?
Dane Evans.
Oh, it's Dane Evans from Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got a great 1-2 punch. I think that they're going to be pretty good. I mean, I think BC is going to be better than people think. That's my opinion. I know that you talked about Stovepipe and, that obviously he never could recover from that torn Achilles. His career is over. And that's the one thing about football, right? You're one play away from the ending of your career. So, but let's talk about Edmonton for one thing. I'm going to say, if there's a game they can win, because it's their second preseason game, and the Bombers, even though we'll put up their chart and you'll see who they're dressing and not playing, I think that they're going to rest so many guys. This is an opportunity for the Elks to have a win at their stadium at the Commonwealth.
No, they're going to go full bore. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, meanwhile, well, are we going to see a lot of Zach Collaros? Probably.
I don't think you'll see any. I don't think you'll see any.
Um,
Take a look around the league. Bo Levi's not playing first game against Hamilton. Cody Fajardo's not playing first game for Montreal.
Nor should these guys. They shouldn't be.
Huh?
They shouldn't.
Well, look at Mazzoli. Mazzoli's not starting first exhibition for Ottawa.
They shouldn't be. Yeah.
So exactly. I mean,
Zach Collaros is dressing. He will be dressed and on the sidelines.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if we're going to see a snap.
Waste of tape. Why you want to tape his ankles? He's not going in. This is an opportunity for Drew Brown and Josh Jones and Tyrell Pigrome to get an opportunity to showcase who can be the number 3 guy.
So
you go to the camp all the time. You follow it. Drew Brown, they had a nice article on him, a nice interview with him earlier this week about how he's just, really blossomed, and he loves to be working under Zach Collaros. Collaros is always telling him, they're great friends. They have a great relationship, and they have a great quarterback room. That's the biggest thing. So, but you're looking at the rookie, as you look at the depth chart here, I mean, Tyrell Pregame, first-year player. Josh Jones, first-year player. Drew Brown's got 2 years under him. They lost Dakota Prukop, who was really good in short yardage. So who's going to be that, that short yardage guy? That'll be an interesting thing too.
Well, here's the thing, Chris. We know what we got in Collaros. We know what we got in Drew Brown, who has looked really good. Drew Brown has looked really good in camp this season. This guy is a future starter in the CFL. Chris, I've been saying this for 12 months now. Drew Brown will be a starter in the CFL someday, whether that's with the Bombers or elsewhere. He is entering a contract season, will be a free agent as it stands right now in February of 2024 at the end of this season. Josh Jones, big-bodied quarterback, big arm, more of a traditional style quarterback. Tyrell Pregame, small quarterback. Body type reminds me a lot of Kevin Glenn. Small, shifty, but he's got a great arm as well. You see him throw a little bit of sidearm, kind of, off schedule plays and that sort of thing. Shifty. Both Josh Jones and Tyrell Pregame were Division II quarterbacks in the NCAA, Chris. And, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, it depends the direction they want to go, right? What direction do they want to go with their number 3 quarterback for short yardage? Big body or smaller guy? It could be a toss-up. I have a theory, but what do you think?
I kind of like what you're saying there. I kind of agree with you a bit. I think you have everybody in Josh Jones. I think the fact that Tyrell Pregame has the ability to extend plays with his legs. They say he's got a great arm.
He does.
He's got great, quick feet. And I think in the CFL, when you have this huge field at your advantage, that if you can extend plays and you're not standing back there, and I'm not saying Josh Jones will be a pylon back there, but he probably doesn't have the escapability that a Pregame does. So if I'm looking for somebody that can make big plays out of nothing, especially in that first exhibition game, I might lean toward Tyrell Pregame to have the bigger plays because he has that excellent footwork and the ability to escape. But you know as well as I do, a lot of...
Oh, did we lose you, Chris? I don't have any audio for you, buddy. Make sure you're plugged in tight. Oh, gosh. What happened to you, bud?
I think what happened
there you go.
Is,
now you're back.
This is an old computer, but it's okay. One day I'll get some money and put in new. But anyway, what I was saying
speaking of which, I'll cut you off right there because a little bit of a segue here. You're interested in sponsoring GameDay Winnipeg, Bonfire midweek, Game Day after dark, pregame, postgame, midweek, as we always do here, covering the Bombers top to bottom. If you want to sponsor, if you want to get your brand, your name, your business, whatever out there, we have an incredibly engaged audience. I'm seeing everybody in the live chat. Great to see everybody back for 2023. Thanks for joining us as always. If you haven't yet, hit that like button. Don't wait. Just do it. Subscribe and hit the comments. We appreciate all that. But that said, Chris, back again this season. Oh, yes. It's our good friends at Shannon's Irish Pub, 175 Carlton Street. If you've never been to Shannon's Pub, it's a must go. Eclectic, unique, one-of-a-kind atmosphere underneath the streets of downtown Winnipeg. Just a saucer pass down the block from True North Square. You can't miss it. Awesome food. Like, yes, this is a traditional pub. It's got that, wood and basement arches and spackle on the walls and all that sort of stuff. Awesome wood and taps. As you see, 21 beers on tap. They are awesome. But the food is off the charts, Chris. Not just pub food, way beyond. Gerard, Louise, the entire team at Shannon's Irish Pub, they will take care of you. They got specials before and after every Blue Bombers game, every Jets game. They're open every day. Go check them out. Shannon's Irish Pub, 175 Carlton Street, or hit them up online, ShannonsIrishPub.ca. You know they're one of my faves, Chris.
I think that's great. I think we should get a hat and one of the broadcasts, because you always wear your Bonfire, you're pushing a brand, which is great. For me, I can go with anywhere because I got a NASCAR hat today. I'll have a Bomber hat tomorrow, but maybe
your kids keep stealing your hat.
They keep stealing the Bonfire hat, but maybe we need a Shannon hat. Let's give them a little pump wearing that hat on the broadcast. You know what I mean?
Well,
I always
even,
said that
even Chris Walby walking down the street with a Shannon's Irish Pub hat. That would be sponsorship in itself.
I love the logo, and I love the fact you got 21 types of beers. And one day I'll take a taxi down there because I won't drive.
No, sir.
And work my way through that list and see
I'm
how it
done
goes.
with that.
I am a renowned beer drinker. I love my beer. That's my number one thing. So that'd be a fun time to do it, and I really do appreciate them being on board again this year.
Yeah, no doubt. Go check them out. 175 Carlton Street, Shannon's Irish Pub. More than beer. Like, they got the stuff on tap. They got the bottles in the fridge.
Yeah.
They take care of this is the other thing. Scotch, whiskey, cocktails, top to bottom. They got you covered. Always a great time there. I think they have karaoke like 3 nights a week, Chris. It's pretty awesome.
That's probably for you, buddy.
That might be for me.
Because, people don't know this, and I'm just going to throw this out there. It's pretty funny. And, you phoned me before the broadcast today, and I know we're talking Bombers, but we got a lot of stuff. But I guess before the long weekend, I must have locked my Grey Cup keys somewhere. I can't find them, so I was in a total panic today to find them. No word of a lie. The big man is out with a shovel checking my dog's droppings to see if the dog ate the rings. Unfortunately, after much separating, the rings were not there. So now I've kind of figured out I must have hid them somewhere. But
so you're stabbing
even the dog makes mistakes, man.
You're stabbing dog crap in the backyard with a shovel. That's what you're
doing. Yep, that's your buddy.
You didn't have the rubber gloves or
no? Found 2 pieces of gold though. But no, you have to laugh at yourself because when you phoned me, I was in a panic, and I think the wife might have hid my rings just because I cleaned the house looking for them. So I went through every room, every drawer, threw a bunch of stuff out. So, but yeah, just one of those funny things. And then of course now we do the broadcast. I'm happy. Long weekend, not long weekend, but beautiful weekend, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Plus 30. This is, I can't beat it. And I love being back with you doing this show, man. That's a great thing. So I agree with you. And I'll just say one last thing that I know there's going to be some sponsors. I've talked to a couple of people already that are looking to get on board, brother. So I think we'll be okay. And, but there's more, lots of room. So come on in.
Yep. So pregame, postgame, Bonfire midweek, Wednesdays, 7:30 as it stands right now. That might change if the Bombers play on Thursday. Because Chris, you and I, GameDay Winnipeg pregame. Every game, the day before the game will go live. But of course, we're available on all your podcast platforms and Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're trying to get it on Instagram too. So be sure to check that out. And I'll have lots of stuff on the side too. Just, short little bits. I'll hop on, answer some questions from fans. That's and, dig into the news as it goes. But how about we pull up the Bonfire Sports annual way too early depth chart. Yeah. Let's get into it here. This is how we have it. Oh, look at that, how it slides in and everything. So here is how I have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offense to start. Of course, Stanley Bryant, Jeff Gray, Chris Kolinkowski, Pat Neufeld, Jamarcus Hardrick across the top, starting on the offensive line. Chris, this is how it finished last year. We obviously know that Michael Couture left via free agency, go back to his home province and joined the BC Lions. Tui Eli back again, was on the suspended list during COVID-19, but back with the team. Mike O'Shea, a big fan of his, has been explicitly said to be a guy that just loves being at the facility and playing football. He's happy to be back. The Bombers are happy he's back, signing a long-term deal. Him and Liam Dobson are going to be pushing Jeff Gray, Chris Kolinkowski at these 2 national starting spots. What do you see in those guys?
Well, I like their starting line. I don't expect them to play very long. I would anticipate that the starting lineup of offensive line plays 1 quarter, if that. I think you'll probably see Kolinkowski a little bit more because basically he just played the last part of the year last year. But, when you look at all these guys, Hardwick doesn't have to play. Brian doesn't have to play. Jeff Gray maybe plays a little bit more. And then, as you say, you mentioned Tui, the fact that he came back. He came back because of O'Shea.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other team, I don't think he'd have came back. I think they wanted him back, and he had a great time here. And again, we talk about this day in and day out. The culture that they have built at this facility is second to none. I don't care if it's NFL, XFL, but in the CFL, man, players want to play here and they want to stay here. And that's the biggest thing. And I'm happy to see he's back because he's going to be a heck of a football player, I think,
Yeah.
Some good guys. Yeah.
He is a heck of a football player.
Oh, you look at Liam Dobson. He played a little bit last year.
Yep.
He's a big kid too. I mean, he was back up. He played a little tight end. Then you got Machino. Tomoya Machino getting a chance to play. I expect these guys to get a lot more time. This is where the live bullets are too. Darrin. I mean, training camp. I think they put the pads on once. They're all wearing those helmets now. They're called, I believe, they're called gladiator hats.
Yeah, gladiator cap. Yeah,
cap. Yeah, it looks like an upside down planter on their head.
They only wear them when they go pads. So that'll be once a week during the season, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. And I saw them wear them. But hey, listen, I think it's pretty smart. They say it reduces the potential for, concussions and future, injuries to the brain by like 35 to 40%. So that's a great thing. You know what? You risk looking good by being a little safer. But as you say, they only have contact once a week. So this is why I'm saying tomorrow is huge. Mm-hmm. Because the rookies may get 1 day of live one-on-ones. And I'm talking, the offense versus defensive line. And now when it's live, when the bullets are firing, and you got guys coming trying to earn a spot. And now you got Edmonton and some of the guys on there like AC Leonard, Serezna had a great year for Edmonton. One of the bright spots for the Elks last year. Yeah. They're going to come at these guys. I mean, I expect Chris Jones to pull everything out. He's not going to be sitting back trying to play vanilla. He's going to try and put some pressure on whoever plays quarterback for the Bombers. When Drew I figured Drew Brown will probably start a half. I'd give Drew 1 and 2, and then I'd give Tyrell and Josh Jones 3 and 4. Let them wrap up.
So I'll challenge you on that, Chris.
Yeah, you challenge me, brother.
I think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going to give Drew Brown 2-3 series. Maybe a quarter and a half. Depends, right? If they score quick, that's a pretty quick series. So I think it can change. But they want to see these guys. They know what they got in Drew Brown. They want to see Terrell Pigram. They want to see Josh Jones. So I'm thinking at least a quarter for each of these two new quarterbacks for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I think they'd be foolhardy if they spent a bunch of time giving Drew Brown reps. Yeah, he wants them, but he can get some next week as well. I think now, this first preseason game, you want Josh Jones and Terrell Pigram to go out there, try some things, make some mistakes, get some film against some legit competition, and then spend the week ahead of that preseason game at home working on the things they did and they didn't do well.
Well, see, I agree, but you know what? You just said basically what I said, but here, they may not. I think Drew Brown's going to play a half. Now, whether that's first, and I mean a half a game, he may play the first quarter and the third quarter. They may show Pigram in the second quarter and Josh Jones in the fourth. I just think that each of those backups, the first-year guys, will get a quarter at least.
Yep.
But I do believe Drew Brown needs reps. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, he's had a great camp. But again, a camp is one thing when they're not really coming 100 miles at you. Now when you got guys trying to take your head off, I think that, I give him a little bit more time. If someone, what are you going to do? Here's a little predicament you want to think about. Tyrell Pigram, say he comes in. I'm just going to throw his name out just because he's the first on the depth chart I'm looking at.
Yep.
He comes out and hey, listen, he just goes down the field 3 or 4 times and does some fantastic things. Do you think there's a potential of him, if he's that good or if he shows that much, does he push Drew Brown for number 2? So you're giving Drew Brown number 2 right now. Mm-hmm. And I say on the chart, absolutely. But what if one of these young guys comes in and a young upstart and just plays lights out? What do? Do you keep him at third, or do you put the battle on Drew Brown to battle for second place or a second guy?
Right. I mean, That's an absolute possibility. Just looking at the time here, Chris, man, it flies by. Let's continue to break down the Blue Bombers offense going into this first preseason game Saturday afternoon.
All right,
So
yeah.
we talked about the quarterbacks. We talked about the offensive line. Cole Adamson switching from defensive tackle to offensive line. So a project, a guy that's probably going to be on the practice roster this season. Drew Richmond back for a third season with the Blue Bombers. He's just been battling injury and stuck around. He's the heir apparent at tackle to either Stanley Bryant or Jamarcus Hardrick. But we'll get a look at Ivy and Besant and Aitman Jr. and the rest. But we'll see how that shakes out. At receiver, Chris.
Yeah.
Kenny Lawler will dress and play against his former team, the Edmonton Elks. This is not Rashid Bailey. This is Manasa Bailey, somebody who got into the only camp scrap I saw in 2023. No Dalton Schoen. He will not dress or play in the preseason. And a couple others. I'll just mention them off the top. Sergio Castillo, Mark Leggio, they will not dress, so they're going to let Chandler Staten, that's the American rookie kicker that they have, go. He's got something, Chris. Chandler Staten is a player to watch. Is he going to knock off Sergio Castillo as a starting kicker? I don't think so. But again, another heir apparent, another project or prospect that the Bombers have ready to go. And then Jamison Sheehan. Oh yes, he is from down under.
Aussie.
No, pardon me. I think he's from New Zealand, but his name is Jamison, not Jameson. And then Schmitz. Those are the two global punters that were drafted this year. Those guys are going to let it rip on Saturday afternoon as well. But at receiver, we have no Dalton Schoen. Everyone else looks good to go. At tailback, Brady Oliveira practiced day one of Bombers training camp, Chris. And he hasn't practiced since. So it's been well over a week. Of course, the Blue Bombers do not talk to injuries, do not speak of them in any specific capacity. Mike O'Shea's response across the board is they'll be ready when they're ready. So,
that's right.
Okay, Jackson Jeffcoat practiced 3-4 days of camp, has not practiced since. Adam Bighill has not taken part in a meaningful capacity, but he's been on the field from day one. None of those guys, Bighill, Jeffcoat, Oliveira, will travel or will dress in the preseason game. Winston Rose and Desmond Lawrence will not dress on the defensive side of the ball, so we can look that direction now. Winston Rose, of course, the returning corner, and Desmond Lawrence, who came mid-season, was cut by the Hamilton Tiger Cats last year, Chris, was named their 2021 most outstanding rookie nominee. But now, a year later, he was on the outs with the Ticats. The Bombers signed him, started him. He is looking to start at that cornerback spot. But Dietrich Nichols locked in at halfback, no question in my mind. This spot is open. This halfback spot on the wide side of the field. Evan Holm, Jamal Parker, Demario Houston, I think, are all in the running for this halfback spot. Let's throw in these two rookies as well in Matt Cole and Abu Darami Soare. Try that one a couple times, Chris.
But I'll tell you this. I think Evan Holm has got a great leg up on this halfback. If he lives to form, listening to Coach O'Shea rave about his footwork, great speed, has the ability to turn those hips really quickly when he's with the receiver. That's what you want. You can't have guys that got what I call cement feet, where if they get hit one way and the guy takes off and you're basically, you turn and you can't keep up. So I think Evan Holm's going to be I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. I'm excited to watch 31 on the field tomorrow. I know what Nichols can. I know Alexander. Alexander, it's good to see him back. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. And, he's going to bang some people around. But as you said, and there's another interesting thing I see on the roster we haven't talked about, and that's Kyrie Wilson back. I know he's not going to play.
He's on the 6-game injured list to start the season. Him and Theodric Hansen.
This guy, before he got hurt, was having an all-star type year.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he can, come back and resume that uphill battle he was doing and, play as well. Bighill, I don't think they worry about Biggie. Biggie's one of those guys. He's probably on the sidelines doing his investment material. He knows the defense better than anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not worried about it. They're not worried about it. When the lights go on for real, he's ready. Number 4 is outstanding. I played with a lot of great linebackers. He's right up with them. I mean, I never played with Biggie, but I'll tell you now, he's one of them.
He's a Hall of Famer. He is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's just, and I wanted to jump back. I mean, you talked about this kid that Adamson is going to be going to the O-line.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what he does, because usually when you come from defense, you go to the offense, you've got great footwork. You've got good footwork, and that's what they want. Now you got to teach them body position, how to come back, how to hold your hands, how to get away from holding, because in defense, you're trying to grab guys and rip past them. Now he's got to, keep his hands inside, not get holding calls that cost him. But I like the fact he reminds me, seriously, I came from the D-line too. I was drafted as a defensive tackle. So they switched me over. It's the best thing that ever happened to me, because instead of a 16-year career, I would have probably had, 2 years, 1 year maybe. So hopefully big things for Adamson there at the offensive guard position. So looking forward to watching. These are guys that I'm kind of looking to watch. Ricky Walker, defensive tackle. We lost Casey Sales to Hamilton. Casey was really playing well.
Well, Chris, he signed like the richest contract for like a interior defensive lineman in the CFL.
Yeah, that's crazy the money they're making now and how much these guys
nice cash.
It's crazy. Stanley Bryant is not the highest paid offensive lineman.
Well, because he's American.
That blew me away. Well, no. Yeah, I know. That Desjardins, Drew Desjardins, who tried out in New England and was just basically on their practice roster. Ottawa, they jumped all over him, and they made him the richest old lineman in the CFL right now.
Yep. So, and rightfully so. Guy's dominant. But it says,
Stanley. So how do you look at Stanley and say, hey, Stanley, if this was the NFL, Stanley Bryant would have a $50 million contract, probably $30 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's the way. Backside tackle, so important. This guy's a stud. I love the way he plays. I love the other guy on the other side as well. Big fan of Happy Hardrick. Like the way he plays. I mean, this again, you won't see a lot of these guys tomorrow, but and actually, there's a site we can go to now, and you can actually stream the game.
Preseason live. Yeah. So you just go to the CFL's website. You'll find it there. CFL Preseason Live. What it is all the games that are not on TSN. So, for example, Saturday's Bombers game in Edmonton is not on TSN. So if you watch it for free on CFL Preseason Live on the CFL website, you will get the Jumbotron feed from the stadium. And then what you'll hear is the home radio broadcast. So you'll hear 6:30 Ched.
That's not bad. That's still pretty good. Now, listen.
Better than nothing. And you know what? The game last weekend was really good. It was well done.
TSN should not be doing that, man. I mean, you know what? Push this game. Be proud of this game. Show the preseason. Get people involved. You're trying to get the young kids involved to follow, to be future season ticket holders. And now you show 2 games. Now, their rationale that, it's not really that important. There's a lot of guys who won't be there. But what about the up-and-comers that do make the squad that you want to see? To me, listen, if TSN wants to be the main broadcaster, good for you guys. God bless you. But then show all the games. Don't sit back on your hiney. We're watching cricket. Or I'm not saying cricket's bad, but you know darts. What I'm talking about. Lawn bowling champions.
The darts. Yeah, no, Chris.
That was my rant. My first rant of the year.
It's good, and that's why I got the solo cam shot for you there. Look, preseason games, it promotes the upcoming season, right? And yeah, I understand it comes down to dollars and cents. That's what it is. For those wondering why TSN doesn't broadcast those games, it comes down to the economics of it. However, the CFL saw a gap in the coverage. They filled it. So fans that want to watch these games, they're going to be able to watch them. And then, of course, Winnipeg's next preseason game, what is that, on Friday, next
Right,
week. So a week out at IG Field, the Madhouse on Matheson. That is game 2 of the preseason and the first home game as the Bombers look to get back to the Grey Cup for a 4th straight season and try to win their 3rd in 4 years. Okay, we've been jumping around the defensive lineup a little bit, Chris. I'm going to pull it back up here. Now, you mentioned Cole Adamson, Winnipegger, University of Manitoba product, switching from D-line to O-line. He'll be someone to watch on Saturday. But back to the defense. We talked about the defensive backfield, right? Of course, Brandon Alexander back again, and Noah Hallett retired list right now, or released, I think, maybe not on the retired list. His brother Nick is back. Couple rookies here. Jake Kelly is an interesting one that's apparently been doing some things for the Blue Bombers. This is the one I'm looking at. Matt Cole. He'll be wearing number 6, playing defensive back. I'm told he's been doing some things, which means it's not just what we see on the field during training camp, Chris. It's in the film room. It's those sorts of things as well. So he's a young rookie. I think Bombers fans should look out for. Alden Darby at the dime. Of course, this is a defensive back spot. Canadian Reda Kramdi I've got right behind him. Suleiman Karamoko, a global, I think Bombers fans should know is here as well. Versatile, can probably play safety. But if we move to the linebackers, Chris, you talked about Kyrie Wilson on the 6th game to start the season. So it looks like second-year linebacker Malik Clements. Well, second year with the Bombers, 3rd in the CFL as he was with Edmonton prior. He's probably going to be the game 1 starter at weak side linebacker. You have the global with a new jersey number, Les Maruo, new in the CFL this year. You can't have a player with 0 and 00 on the same team. So Les Maruo used to be 00. He has to switch to Andrew Harris's former 33 with the Blue Bombers. But this is the guy Bombers fans need to know. Barrington Wade. Big, quick, can run, can tackle, obviously, being a linebacker. Barrington Wade is the one I'm watching. He is somebody I think who could make an impact on the Blue Bombers defense this season. Adam Bighill, Kyrie Wilson, those are the incumbents. Malik Clements, Les Maluo, those are the guys that are definitely going to be right there. Same with Shane Gauthier. Shane Gauthier is a veteran. No, he's not the fleetest of foot. We know how good he is on special teams, but he has been somebody they plug in the middle, and he is responsible and sound. But Barrington Wade is a guy I think that could be a little bit of a glimpse at the future, Chris, in the Blue Bombers linebacking core.
University of Iowa, big tough school. They bring up push out a lot of linebackers. 6'1", 220, a nice big size for a linebacker. Still got to have that nose, and he probably does. This is why we get excited about preseason. I love seeing new guys. I love the fact you pick out some guys you want to watch, because I think that's so important. And the fans get involved in seeing these guys, because you've got maybe these rookies will probably get more action today or tomorrow than they will in the second game. So this is the big showcase for these guys to go out and make a couple big plays. Special teams, as we talk about, is huge. We talked off the air yesterday, and I said I wasn't surprised. Obviously this season I think is going to be, it's going to be whatchamacallit, the kicker and Legio will be the punter, but you never know. It's another thing. If one of these guys comes in here and puts, starts kicking 55 yarders with quite a lot of accuracy, it's going to be interesting. Another guy too. Sorry about, and I don't like to spend too much time with special teams because those guys get paid too much anyway. What
we're looking at now, by the way, if you're watching and not listening on podcast, hey, if you're listening on podcast, awesome. If you want to listen on podcast, search Bonfire Sports. You'll find us on all your favorite podcast apps. But if you want to get the full Bonfire experience, look at these depth charts and rosters, head over to YouTube or Facebook. You'll find us there. But what we're looking at, Chris, is who will dress in preseason game number 1 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But yeah, I mean, is kicker the biggest question going into 2023? I think it was until they signed Sergio Castillo. Is it still?
That's right. No. I don't think so, but I want to see what these other kids can do. I'm really curious to see. I mean, they probably know the incumbents are there, and Legio being the punter, and And they've got a field goal kicker who was in Winnipeg, won a couple at Winnipeg. Then he went to Edmonton, signed a nice big contract. Very surprised they let him go, but I think that Edmonton, according to them, they are going to go with Domagala,
Yes.
who's a Canadian. So I think that's who they're going to go with. And another kicker by the name of Faithful. Hopefully he is faithful. If he's married, especially. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting a little wacky right now.
Well, hey, it wouldn't be Game Day Winnipeg without a little wackiness from the legend Chris Walby. Anthony Bennett, the Blue Bombers' first round draft pick in 2023. University of Regina Rams. Prior to that, time in the NCAA. I think it was Central Florida. I could be mistaken, but either way, defensive end, Anthony Bennett. Ted Wyman of the Winnipeg Sun has had a very cool series through training camp called the Blue Bombers Rookie Diary, where he talks to Anthony Bennett pretty much every day and gets his perspective. And you can see it kind of like blossom and grow through camp and what he's seeing, what he's learning, what is surprising him, what's maybe changed his mind about some things. It's a very cool series. Go check that out in the Winnipeg Sun. Ted Wyman doing a really cool job with that. But Anthony Bennett, Chris, joins a defensive line that lost Jonathan Kongbo to the NFL. He's now signed with the BC Lions. They cut veteran Sean Lemon, gave all that cash to the Canadian Jonathan Kongbo. Big signing and a heck of a player. But the Blue Bombers, they have who we expect them to have on the defensive line. Willie Jefferson, Jackson Jeffcoat, Jake Thomas, Ricky Walker, and a couple guys are going to be pushing, but really I think that starting four is going to be unchanged from last year to this year.
I agree 100%. It's interesting you mentioned Sean Lemon. If I'm not mistaken, and I could be because my mind's going all over the place today, did he not win Outstanding Defensive Player last year?
Yeah, he was the West nominee. Yeah.
West nominee. Okay, thank you. He was the West nominee, and he goes to BC. I watched a couple of his interviews. They were all over him. I mean, you talk about he's so happy to be there. He's looking forward to playing for BC, and then he cut him. And you wonder what the heck's going on. Where this guy's? I mean, he's been in a lot of teams. He's been on a lot of football clubs here. So is he going to land on his feet? I think so.
Yep.
He gets the job done. I mean, he makes plays when he has to make plays. But obviously they've got somebody in BC that they figure can play better or more consistent than Sean the Lemonator. I was surprised by that move. I'll be honest with you. There's a couple.
I think what it comes down to, Chris, is this is a move by the BC Lions that is about the future. Sean Lemon is in his last season, maybe second last season. The wear and tear on the body for someone like him, no doubt a huge factor in this decision. Look, if you asked a general manager, do you want a veteran American pass rusher that produces, or do you want a young Canadian that has his best years ahead of him? I think it was a no-brainer for the BC Lions to move on from Sean Lemon and on to.
I'll give you that, but I don't like that. I'll be honest with you. I agree with you to a point. I think, you a lot of the older guys. I remember Wally Buono, the head coach he was a BC winningest coach in CFL history, would always, and he made the moves where he cut guys, and you thought, what the hell's going on here? You got a guy that's a great football player still, and they're letting him go. There is no emotion. It's a business, and I understand that part of it. But I also think that sometimes when you have a veteran that can produce still, and you're taking maybe a cheaper route, and maybe salary played a factor in that. A lot of times it does. Then I think, are you trying to win now, or are you playing for the future? And if you're playing for the future, I don't want to be on that team. I want to win now. I don't want to play for what might happen in 2 years down the road or next year. I need to win now because that's what it's about. You don't know how long your career is going to be. And I said before at the beginning of the show, your next play could be your last play. So, it's a crazy game.
Well, for the Blue Bomb, for Sean Lemon rather, maybe this is a good thing. I think BC's looking towards the future. Is Vernon Adams going to take them to the promised land? You know, signing Dane Evans as a number 2 doesn't exactly instill the hugest amount of confidence in Vernon Adams as the starter, but I think the CFL is wide open in 2023. Wide open.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of guys, and you hit something that I'll say this.
Lemon could join the Ottawa Red Blacks. They could win the cup. That's what I'm saying.
There is a lot of guys playing for a rebound. I look at Cody Fajardo in Montreal. You know, I look
Jason
at Bo
Moss,
Levi in Hamilton. Mm-hmm. You know, then I look at Dane Evans. I know you mentioned Vernon Jr. Adams Jr. in BC. Dane Evans, who just had that horrible year for turning the ball over last year in Hamilton. You know, played in the Grey Cup both times. I mean, this is a guy that I think, for me, will he be the comeback player of the year? Somebody's going to be the comeback player of the year, buddy. And I don't think it'll be Bo Levi. Bo Levi's too good. I think Bo Levi's got a great team out there. And I think it's going to be either Cody Fajardo in the quarterback position or Dane Evans. And I know I'm excluding Vernon Adams Jr., but I think it's those two guys. Somebody's going to come back and have a kick-ass year.
I would look out for Jeremiah Masoli. I think he is probably going to be a guy that has a huge chip on his shoulder after having his season ended early next year. Don't sleep on the Ottawa Red Blacks. Don't sleep on them. I think they are going to be a very good football team with their new full-time head coach in Bobby Dice, the Winnipegger, the former St. Vital Mustang. Shout out those guys. And, of course, shout out the Winnipeg Rifles Junior program. Chris, you know, of course, a football team here in the city that's near and dear to both of our hearts. But I wonder about Cody Fajardo reunited with Jason Moss, but now in Montreal, different division, different team, obviously. But will the remarriage of Cody Fajardo at quarterback and Jason Moss as the offensive-minded head coach, will that work this time? It did not work in Saskatchewan.
Having said that, DB, Jason Moss has always been in that Fajardo's corner and saying he wanted to play him. Craig Dickinson, the head coach of Saskatchewan, made the move to go to the other guys. He said, we're not getting it done. And they started playing for the future. They started playing to see what they got in a backup role, Mason Fine and the other backup quarterback. But I know that Jason Moss, there was a little bit of a headbutting contest going on there because Jason Moss wanted Cody still to play. So I think this might be a marriage made in heaven, the fact that now he's the head coach, Jason Moss is, and he can't be overruled to say who's going to start. He makes that decision now. So, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about around the league, man. I mean, it's interesting, and I know we talked about the Bombers. For me, it's just going to be an exciting game to hear the game again, to see the game, to watch the game, to smell that game. And, I mean, yeah, you can smell a football. Go to the stadium. It's just a neat experience.
You're right.
Wade Miller and the crew there have done a fantastic. They had a big night yesterday, I think. Some kind of a
taste of the Bombers.
Taste of the Bombers, and I guess it went over extremely well. And Wade Miller and those guys have done a great job. They've done a great job.
FanFest, Blue Bombers FanFest is on Sunday at IG Field. So go to their website and get the details on that. But there'll be a handful of players there signing autographs. They'll have stuff for the kids. They'll have food and drink and lots of great stuff for you. But yeah, it's going to be an intriguing 2023, Chris. A couple things I'm noticing. Great to see everybody in the chat. A couple questions people are asking. What's up with Janarian Grant?
Well, he's suspended, but I think it's personal matters.
Whoop.
So I don't know. It's interesting.
How about that? I've never seen that before. Whoop.
What?
Okay. Well, anyway, Janarian Grant, placed on the suspended list. I think this is a personal matter. I don't know this for sure.
Yeah, definitely it is.
But
I mean, first, having said that, and listen, Janarian, boy, I tell you, when you got a guy like that returning kicks, man, you got a chance to get a touchdown every time. We also want to just jump out there and offer our condolences to Zach Colares on the passing of his grandmother. Mm-hmm. Sorry to hear that, man. Our thoughts are with you and your family. Just thought I'd throw that out there as well.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's well put, Chris. So often if a player is not at practice, it's like, what's going on? Is he hurt? Is he getting an MRI? Is he having surgery? Is it this? Is he going to be able to play this week? And a lot of the times you got to remember, these guys are humans. They have lots of things going on. Jake Thomas was late to coming to training camp. He had a baby, and was glowing about it when I saw him, Chris, when I saw him, on the first day or two that he was back. He's just like, I had a baby. Like, he came right up to me. He's like, I had a baby. That's where I was. Like he was almost bragging about it. So
I believe he's a first-time father, right? So
yeah,
I think
big
that's exciting.
Bragging, right?
It's a great thing, man, and congratulations to Jake on that, and his wife and his newborn.
Yeah,
but
as we start the Blue Bombers here, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, as we get close to wrapping this up, just want to let you know that I've loved being here. All this baby talk has got me fired up now.
You know what? As soon as you realize like the show's over, or Chris, we're not doing a show this week, you're going to be like, oh man, I miss it. But 45 minutes into a show, you're like, come on, let's go. I got places to be. I got things to do.
And I love being honest with people, because I mean, that's who I am, and that's how you are, brother. And we talked yesterday and said, we're just going to talk. We're not going to, we won't drag it. We'll have fun. We'll talk about his main stories, and then we'll get off the air. And today we're talking about babies and marriages and, this kind of thing, and personal things here.
Yes.
How many beers you actually drink. It's not a great thing, man. It's beautiful.
It is a beautiful thing. But as far as Janarian Grant, the Bombers have, he is expected back. The Bombers have a lot of options at returner this year. Here's a quick look at the Edmonton Elks and how they'll dress. Important note, for their second preseason game. So, of course, we're going to see Taylor Cornelius at quarterback. I would love to see a little bit more of Trey Ford. That's former Bombers defensive back Tyrell Ford's brother. Where is Tyrell Ford, the Bombers draft pick from last year? He's in the NFL. He signed a deal with the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, everybody excited for him and that opportunity in the National Football League. Kyle Loxley, he was okay. I thought he was okay in the first preseason game, but be curious to see how much of Taylor Cornelius we see against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You mentioned, I thought it was funny, Chris, right off the top of it, you mentioned the Canadian punter of the Edmonton Elks, but I don't know if that's exactly who people are going to be looking for. You're right. Jake Serezna, heck of a player, back again with Edmonton.
Ed Gainey, big pickup, obviously. Ed Gainey.
And back to corner. Normally a halfback. Yeah. So maybe in his older age to say, okay, we're going to put you at a little bit less of a, fly all over the field type position, locking down the boundary corner. And then Lucius Purifoy. Man, like Chris Jones getting Lucius Purifoy for free safety, that's a monster move. Lucius Purifoy, if you don't know details about Lucius Purifoy, he may be the best athlete in the CFL. Chris, I say that with a ton of confidence. He very well may be the best overall athlete in the league. The guy is huge, strong, fast, versatile. You could put him at defensive end. He wouldn't look out of place. You could put him at corner. He wouldn't look out of place. A real weapon in a Chris Jones defense. That's really going to be something.
Yeah, you got Josiah St. John at right tackle on the offensive line. Comeback for him. He was a number one draft pick in Saskatchewan years back. Getting a chance now to start at right tackle. He's evidently played pretty good the last game. And then there's that Tate. I don't know what Tate's first name is. The fourth string quarterback, who really did a really nice job in the first preseason game for Edmonton. Led him to a couple offensive touchdown drives. So you might see him more too. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting. And, they've got a great running back in Brown. Dunbar Jr., the Elks, they picked up from Hamilton. Mm-hmm. Arsenal from Saskatchewan. I believe he was a Saskatchewan.
Old reliable. Manny Arsenal.
Talk about the other guy, the big guy. The best receiver in the East, maybe the best in the CFL last year, Eugene Lewis. Clutch. And they got the newcomer, the second-year guy, Mitchell, out in the wide side. They have got some weapons offensively now, so it really will be interesting to see how they come together.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's going to be a fascinating game on Saturday. How much of Drew Brown will we see? Will we see Zach Collaros at quarterback? Some of those players on defense, Matt Cole at corner. Don't get him mixed up with Brian Cole at linebacker. Matt Cole at defensive back number 6, Barrington Wade at linebacker for the Blue Bombers. What is he, 54? I think he's 54. I want to make sure I get that. Yeah, but either way, Chris, there's a lot to get to and a lot to watch in this preseason game, and this is the best news of it all. You out there, we got you covered on the post-game show. Chris, you're going to probably be well lubricated following the game, so I'm going to bring in someone else to do the post-game show with me.
Very good call. Very good call. I'll be somewhere. Maybe put the boat in the water. But, yeah, it's going to be good. And you know what the nicest thing is? This is the first game we were doing, the preseason. It builds so quickly after because now we get to see some of the stuff. So we get to really talk about. We really can, dive in the X and O's of what the Bombers are doing or trying to do offensively, defensively, special team-wise, what teams are trying to do to them. And then, you'll be excited to see. You'll see Zach. Will he be a 3-time most outstanding player this year? There's so many questions that will be answered as the year moves on.
This is what you got to do. Head over to YouTube. If you're watching elsewhere, subscribe. Don't hesitate. Just do it. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and then it's easy. Then there we are, right there in your feed to get the latest pregame, postgame, midweek, and overall throughout the week coverage here on Bonfire Sports. And then, of course, as always, big shout out to our good friends at Shannon's Irish Pub, 175 Carlton Street. Beers, beverages, food, atmosphere, energy, karaoke 3 nights a week, Jets games, Bombers games. They got you covered top to bottom. Go check them out underneath the streets of downtown Winnipeg, just a saucer pass from True North's Square, right in the action of it all. Chris, this was fun, buddy. Let's do it again next week ahead of preseason game number 2. That one will be at IG Field.
That'll be at IG Field against our arch rivals, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, which is always a great match to see what they do and how they've improved, or are they going to be still falling down the old ladder? But, yeah, that's next Thursday. We'll be live, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm really looking forward to going and trying to catch a little bit of that game tomorrow at the lake. I'm going to kind of put it on my iPad and see about watching some of it and just see what the Bombers do. It's very hard. I remember doing CBC. It's these guys really. Another thing that's difficult when you got, you can dress as many guys as you want in the preseason, and you got so many numbers. Mm-hmm. And I remember back then, some teams had the same guy where 2 different guys were the same number, and you'd be like trying to make sure you had the right name. So, no, it'll be interesting, guys. Have a good one.
Appreciate you, Chris. We'll see you all on the post-game show, Game Day After Dark, right here on Bonfire Sports. See you then.
God bless you, DB. God bless everybody. Good luck, Bombers. Let's go. 2000.